Good afternoon. My name is Taylor Dupre. I'm a project engineer with Collins Aerospace. In my role, I install, activate, and accredit repair capabilities at the depot level for commercial and military aerospace maintenance repair operations facilities. And so through this process, work with depot artisans and senior facility leadership and external partners to finalize facility layouts and design and write overhaul procedures and technical data manuals. In a technical role, I also deal with specialty tooling and develop repair philosophies. And kind of at the end of all of this, the main deliverable is an artisan training at the depot level to make sure that we can accredit the technicians and the artisans to execute the repair philosophies that we've transferred over and make sure that they're ready to be effective repair technicians in that capacity. So the goal of communication in general and always is that you want the message that you're sending to be equal to the message that is being received. So this is normally important in any communication, but it's absolutely critical in a technical knowledge transfer context, specifically when the outcome has to be that safe planes are put back in the sky. So there's not really room for miscommunications. You have to be absolutely certain that when you leave and you accredit these skilled technicians, that they have the technical skills and the knowledge and the understanding to execute on the repair specifications that you've set forth, and they understand what's being asked of them. So wanted to go through a scenario that started out as a negative. It was a thorn in communication that was not of the right context and had a lot of troubles, and served as an example of what can happen when communication is not done correctly in the correct channels with the correct context. And then in that same situation, show how that kind of evolved into a success story arose, and show how those things were corrected and made a successful outcome at the end. So I was working with an international customer in June of 2020 for one of these large level maintenance, repair, operation, activation activities. They wanted their artisans to come over to the US for the first time and get some preliminary training, so that when we went to the customer site, the schedule was a little bit compressed. So they sent 5 artisans to Illinois. It was the first time that these individuals had ever been outside of their home country. And they arrived on a Wednesday. They were supposed to come on site on Monday to start 2 weeks of pretty intense hands-on repair training. And Thursday, one of the individuals tested positive for COVID. And so myself and my team had about a day and a half to create a virtual training space inside of our repair shop, which included GoPro cameras and bench mount cameras and audio devices and all sorts of, and lighting fixtures and all of these things. So lots of technology struggles. We had a quick pivot there. As far as the audience concerned, so they came on, so Monday morning we started. There was 5 technicians in their individual sequestered hotel rooms on Zoom. So we hadn't met, we hadn't had any chance to introduce ourselves. And then all day senior leaders and executives were popping in and out of the Zoom. And so we tried to spend a little bit of time to get to know one another, but it was really hard. English was their second language. And so it was that there wasn't really any there was as much as we could as far as context and relationship building and context there, but the audience kept changing, and they had their cameras on, so you could kind of see their engagement. But really, the communication channel was dictated by the situation. There was almost zero context. Like I said, we'd never met English. There was a language barrier. It was 4 days long, 4 days of 8-hour days. It was basically a 4-day YouTube tutorial on, imagine like taking your entire car apart and putting it back together and just watching that. So I had gloves on, I had oil and grease all over, so I couldn't use the chat functionalities. We couldn't do breakout rooms, that kind of thing. There was no virtual curricula able to be designed, and feedback was extremely difficult. So the final takeaways for kind of this Thorn scenario was that, we did the best that we could, and we tried to make sure that we were asking questions. Do you understand? Are you picking this up? In training events like that, most of the time, the only way to really gauge knowledge transfer is, do you understand this? They say yes or no. If they say yes, okay, well, show me, demonstrate your capability. And that was not an option. I had someone working the camera for me, so we did our best under the circumstances, but we were definitely, at the end of those 4 days, you still have a very shaky feeling, that the message may or may not have been received. And so that was it was definitely a communication, or a lack of communication, a lack of confidence in how that was done. Now, moving forward, after 4 days, the Rose scenario, we went through kind of those trials and tribulations of that virtual pivot. After 4 days, we finally got the team on site. We got to meet in person. Took some time, specifically to get to know each other. I got to understand their experience, their technical experience, kind of what motivates them. I got to see their body language and kind of understand each one of the technicians and the frame of reference that they were coming to the training with. At that point, also, we had that shared experience of that difficult, pivot with that virtual space. And so we had kind of a strong bond built between, 4 days of Zoom, 8-hour Zoom trainings that kind of bonded us together. And they actually retained a lot more than we thought from that virtual training, and built a really solid foundation for us to be able to jump in and start kind of that knowledge test and transfer and kind of run through everything and make sure that they really had a grasp on what was going to be expected of them, and that they had the specific technical knowledge and they were understanding the things that we were communicating to them, which are very complex technical skills and information and specifications. So final takeaways from this kind of success on the second half was, we were able to use the correct communication channel. We were able to eliminate the noise as far as everyone being in a hotel room by themselves for 8 hours a day and on their phone and going to the bathroom and coming and going. We were on site. Everyone was in the repair shop. We had hands-on equipment, and we were able to work through that. That's absolutely the correct communication channel for that type of activity. We were able to get real-time collaborative feedback from them. If they weren't understanding things, they could ask questions. It was a lot easier to bridge that language barrier in person. Again, while you kind of start to understand each person's personalities, and most of the guys were kind of red or white. They definitely were a little bit more passive, and so being in that context doesn't make it the most conducive for those types of personalities to speak up over Zoom. So in person, they were able to kind of get comfortable and ask questions, and we were able to evaluate. And at the end, we were able to accredit that they were capable and knowledgeable enough to be able to do these depot level overhaul repairs on the equipment that we were training them on. So it turned out as a success story, but definitely a kind of an example of two sides of the coin, how things can be extremely difficult when you don't have the right context, and when it's not possible to use the correct communication channel for that context. So thank you.